Our story begins on October 23rd, 1957, in a place called Tambwe, in the hills of the northern Rwanda. Life for the Kagame family was prestigious. Paul was born the youngest of 6 children. His father, Deogratias, was a member of the Tutsi royal family and a close advisor to King Mutara Rudahigwa. His mother, Asteria, was also from a noble line. In those days, Paul wasn't just a boy. He was a child of the elite. He was born into a world of tradition, respect, and influence. But the winds of change were blowing. They weren't warm. By 1959, the Hutu peasant revolution began. The social structure that had stood for centuries was being torn down, often with violence. For the Kagame family, their status went from being a blessing to a target. Imagine being just 2 years old. You don't understand politics, and you don't understand ethnicity. All you know is that your mother is grabbing what she can't carry. Your father is looking at the horizon with worry, and your home is no longer safe. In 1961, as Rwanda moved towards independence from Belgium, the violence peaked. The Kagame family fled across the border into Uganda. They didn't live in a limousine. They left as survivors. They settled in the Unshugurizi refugee camp in the Toro sub-region. This wasn't a temporary weekend stay. This would be Paul's home for years. One day he was a prince in the hills of Rwanda. The next, he was a refugee in the dust of Uganda. This is the moment Paul Kagame learned his first lesson. Nothing is permanent, and status doesn't protect you. Only strength does. Growing up in a refugee camp changes a child. While other kids were playing, Paul was watching. He watched his parents, who has once been powerful, now having to wait for food rations. He watched his father, Deogratias, struggle with the heartbreak of losing his country. A heartbreak so deep that Deogratias eventually passed away in the early 1970s, never seeing his home again. In the camp, Paul was an outsider. In Uganda, he was called a foreigner. In Rwanda, he was told he wasn't welcome back. Even in the depths of the camp, Paul's mother, Asteria, made sure one thing stayed royal: his education. She pushed him to study, to be disciplined, and never to forget where he came from. Young Paul wasn't the loudest kid in class. He was quiet, thin, and observant. He was a boy who lived in a tent but carried the map of a kingdom in his head. He wasn't just growing up, he was waiting. He was the prince in exile, and the exile was about to become his training ground. This is where the story shifts from a boy surviving to a man preparing. Paul wasn't just a student. He was a student with a chip on his shoulder. He attended Ntare School, one of the best in Uganda. But even as he excelled in his studies, he was constantly reminded that he was a refugee. In the schoolyards, being Rwandan was often a reason for mockery. This environment did two things to young Paul. It made him reserved and it made him tough. While others were focused on teenage life, Kagame was focused on the injustice of his situation. He was a man without a country, and he realized that nobody was going to give it back to him. He would have to take it. At Intare School, Paul met another young, ambitious student named Yoweri Museveni. This friendship would eventually change the map of East Africa. Museveni was interested in revolution, and Kagame, foiled by the heartbreak of his father's death in exile, was looking for a way to fight back. In the late 1970s and the early 80s, Kagame didn't choose a comfortable office job. He joined Museveni's National Resistance Army, NRA, to fight a guerrilla war against Uganda government. This was his university of war. He wasn't just a soldier. He became a specialist in intelligence. The job: sleeping behind enemy lines, gathering information, and spotting weaknesses. The reputation: he became known as Pilato, a name that signaled he was someone you didn't want to be judged by. He was thin, rarely smiled, and was incredibly disciplined. When Museveni finally took power in Uganda in 1986, Kagame was appointed as the senior officer in military intelligence. At this point, he was one of the most powerful men in the Uganda army. But here is the twist. Even though he had reached the top of the Ugandan military, he never stopped being Rwandan. He used his position to secretly organize other Rwandan refugees. They would meet at night, pulling their small salaries together to buy boots, uniforms, and eventually guns. In 1990, Kagame was sent to the United States to study at the Command and General Staff College in Leavenworth, Kansas. He was learning the high-level strategies of the world's most powerful military. But while he was sitting in a classroom in America, his friends back in Uganda decided the time had come. They launched an invasion of Rwanda to finally go home. The invasion started as a disaster. Their leader, Fred Rwigema, was killed on the second day. The rebel army was retreating, confused and leaderless. Paul Kagame received a phone call in Kansas. He had to make a decision: stay in the safety of the US or return to a failing revolution. Kagame didn't just learn from books, he learned from the bush. He learned that an army without discipline is just a mob, and a man without a country is never truly free. He packed his bags, left America, and headed for the mountains. In October 1990, the RPF, Rwanda Patriotic Front, was in a death spiral. Their charismatic leader, Fred Rwigema, was gone. The soldiers were cold, hungry, and hiding in the Akagera National Park. They were not an army anymore. They were a group of refugees waiting to be defeated. Paul Kagame touched down from America, traded his student books for a camouflage uniform, and hiked into the mountains. He didn't give a long emotional speech. He did something very Kagame. He started fixing the mechanics. He enforced strict discipline. He punished corruption. He turned a ragtag group into a professional machine. Fast forward to April 1994. A plane carrying the Rwanda president was shot down and the world collapsed. The genocide against the Tutsi began. While the UN was debating in air-conditioned rooms in New York, and the international communities were pulling their troops out, Kagame gave his army one order: stop the killing. He wasn't just fighting a war for territory, he was fighting a race against time. He moved his troops with surgical precision, cutting off extremist supply lines while trying to save as many people as possible. By July 4, 1994, the RPF marched into Kigali. The war was over and the country was dead. When the RPF took over, Kagame didn't immediately take the title of president. He became the vice president and minister of defense. On paper, someone else was the boss. But in reality, everyone knew who was doing the heavy lifting. This was his period of silent power. He was the one rebuilding the army, the one negotiating with foreign leaders, and the one dealing with the millions of refugees returning from Congo. By the year 2000, the internal tensions within the transition government reached a breaking point. The then president resigned, and the parliament looked to the man who had held the country together since the 0 point. On April 22, 2000, Paul Kagame was sworn in as the president of Rwanda. The boy from the refugee camp was now the man in the state house. There were no celebrations. He didn't inherit a treasury. He inherited a graveyard. He didn't inherit a united people. He inherited a population where the victims were living next door to the perpetrators. Kagame didn't win an election to become president in 2000. He inherited a mess that nobody else wanted. He stepped into power, not with his mind, but with a checklist. He knew that to save Rwanda, he wouldn't just have to be a leader, he would have to be an architect. When Kagame took full control, his first move was his most controversial and most brilliant. He deleted the labels. He realized that as long as people call themselves Hutu or Tutsi, the fire will never truly go out. He made it a law. Identity cards no longer listed ethnicity. You weren't a Hutu farmer or a Tutsi survivor. You were simply Umuya Rwandan. Kagame knew that if you want to build a new house, you have to stop using the old rotten bricks. He cleared the social foundation so he could build something modern on top of it. How do you give justice when there are over 100,000 people in prison for genocide? A normal court system would take 200 years to finish. Kagame looked into Rwanda's past and found Gacaca. These were community-led courts held on the grass in local villages. The goal, not just punishment, but truth. The deal, If you confessed your crimes and asked for forgiveness, your sentence was reduced. The result: neighbors sat across from neighbors. They cried, they shouted, and eventually they started to live together again. It was imperfect, but it worked where the rest of the world failed. Kagame knew that a country that looks like a mess feels like a mess. He institutionalized Umuganda, the last Saturday of every month, where everyone, including the president himself, picks up a broom or a shovel to clean the streets. This wasn't about picking up plastics. It was about ownership. If you sweat together to build a road, you are less likely to destroy it. It turned Kigali into the cleanest city in Africa and gave Rwandans a sense of pride that money could not buy. Kagame began running Rwanda like a high-performance tech startup. Zero tolerance for corruption. While other leaders built mansions abroad, Kagame fired officials for even small amount of missing money. Vision 2020. He set clear KPIs, key performance indicators. He wanted fiber optic cables in the ground, drones delivering blood to hospitals, and every child in a classroom. The Gacaca program. One of his favorite strategies, giving one cow to every poor family. It provided milk for nutrition and manure for farming, a simple circle of self-sufficiency. Kagame made a strategic bet. He believed women were the key to stability. He pushed for laws that ensured women held at least 30% of government roles. Today, Rwanda has the highest percentage of female parliamentarians in the world, over 60%. He didn't do this just for fairness. He did it because he knew women were the backbone of the reconciliation process. Kagame stopped asking for aid and started asking for investment. He built the Kigali Convention Center, invited global tech companies, and turned Rwanda into a hub for tourism and business. He wanted the world to see Rwanda not as a place of death, but as a place of destination. Behind every builder is a foundation, and for Paul Kagame, the foundation is his family. In 1989, while he was still a soldier in the bush, he married Janet in Yaramogi. Like him, she had spent years in exile in Kenya. As First Lady, Janet didn't just stay in the background. She became a mother figure to the nation through her Imbuto Foundation, focusing on health and education for orphans and widows of the genocide. Together, they raised 4 children, Ivan, Aggie, Ian, and Brian, pushing them towards excellence and discipline, the same values their father used to rebuild the country. When people look at Kagame's legacy, they see a split screen. On one side, a miracle. A country that was once a graveyard is now a leader in green energy, gender equality, and ease of doing business. You can walk the streets of Kigali at midnight with a laptop in your hand and feel safe than in many Western cities. On the other side, the debate. Critics point to his long tenure and ask if the stability is too dependent on one man. Kagame's response is usually simple. We are not building for me, we are building for them. He argues that a country that nearly vanished, strong institutions required a steady hand to guide them until they are unbreakable. Kagame's biggest bet for the future isn't coffee or tea, it's brain. By 2026, Rwanda has become a smart nation. The Kigali Innovation City, a massive project to turn the capital into a tech hub for all of Africa. The one laptop per child success, ensuring that the child of a rural farmer has the same digital tools as a child in the city. He didn't want Rwanda just to catch up. He wanted them to leapfrog over the traditional steps of development. Perhaps his greatest legacy is in the skyscrapers or the paved roads. Is a psychological shift. He took a broken people and gave them back their pride. Today, young Rwandans don't introduce themselves by their parents' tribes. They say, Idi Imunya Rwanda. I am Rwanda. Paul Kagame didn't just build a country, he rebooted an identity. He took the priest in exile and turned him into the CEO of a nation, proving that it doesn't matter how your story starts, in a refugee camp or a palace. What matters is the blueprint you leave behind for those who come after you. From the dust of Uganda to the heights of Kigali, this is the story of the man who refused to let his country die. Whether you see him as a hero or a hard learner, one thing is certain: the new Rwanda is his masterpiece. Thank you for watching this journey on the African Archive. We love bringing you African stories every week. If you enjoy them, don't forget to subscribe, like and share. It really helps us to grow. Thank you.